Hey folks, welcome back. So today I'm going to show off some more RPG stuff. This is a particularly unusual one in a sense because took a bit of doing to get hold of this in physical form. So you can see this massive tome here in front of you, Weird Frontiers. This was a very successful Kickstarter run by David Beatty. Here you can see the name of the designer there. It's a massive 800 plus page, actually it might be 900 pages, but it's large anyway. It's a book of the Weird West. So it's a role-playing game set in kind of a fantasy stroke horror version of the Old West in the United States. So the kind of 1870s, 1880s kind of era. But with added eldritch lore and fantasy magic and monsters and stuff. And you can see we've got some creepy dude here on the front with a tentacular face. And you can also see here that it's compatible with DCC RPG. For those who don't know, that's Dungeon Crawl Classics by Goodman Games. Dungeon Crawl Classics is a great game. It's based essentially on the skeleton of D&D 3.5 edition, but then it's been sort of old schoolified. So it's filled with loads of random fun tables for spell effects. It's got, cool stuff that fighters can do called Mighty Deeds of Arms. There's all sorts of interesting twists on the D&D formula that make for a more deadly and more exciting game. It's very challenging in the dungeon crawl format. And it's particularly known for the so-called funnel, where each player builds 4 level 0 characters that are just nobodies. They don't have a class. They just have randomly rolled equipment, which will have stuff like pitchforks in it. And they charge into battle into a funnel adventure, and whichever characters survive level up to level 1 and become a real hero. It's really great fun to play that way. It adds this real sense of chaos to your first character that comes out. And the characters that survive, you have a real attachment to because they've been through hell and back, and they've earned their transition to heroism by gaining a character class. So that's one of the key differentiating elements of DCC. So on that framework, David here built Weird Frontiers, and I'm a big fan of the Weird West settings. I used to play the classic Deadlands RPG back in the day, which was a really fun, very 90s RPG in the Weird West, where you would do things like, if you were casting spells as a huckster in that game, you would actually play a round of poker with the GM to see what your spell result was going to be. So there was a Western flavor throughout. It's kind of ridiculous mechanically, but it was so much fun. Then they moved that system to the Savage World system, which is much cleaner and everything, but it's not nearly as much fun. I don't really like that system, particularly for myself. But I do like DCC. And so when this came out, I was pretty elated to find out it existed, only to discover that it was only available in print via this Kickstarter or via the Goodman Games website, which charges, it was over $100 for shipping to the UK for this one book. So I actually contacted David himself and said, look, I don't know if there's any other way to get hold of this thing, but I really want to play your game. It really looks great. And he actually sent it to me himself, got a much better rate than Goodman Games would offer, which was fantastic. And then to my surprise, he added some wonderful little extra gifts in the box. So I wanted to show this game off as a big thank you also to David for being really helpful to me and making sure I could get hold of his game, which really looks fantastic. And I can't wait to get a group of players together to try it. But anyway, I'll show you the little gifts first. So first we have this lovely fridge magnet here with the Weird Frontiers logo. And we've got a creepy-looking character on the front. He's got green glowing eyes. We've got bats flying through a sort of eldritch green fog. We've got glowing skulls. Really gets you into the vibe of the game. You can see it just sticks right on your fridge there. Nice little tidbit. Then really exciting was this nice dice bag. Really nice material, kind of velour kind of feeling. I'm not sure what it is. And you can see that the drawstrings here have little skulls on them. How cool is that? They got some nice detail on them as well, like a little flame kind of on there. I guess those are bones there on the front. But very cool. And inside, there are some special dice. Now, DCC as a system is known for using weird dice, like you use not only D20s, but also D16s, D14s, all this kind of stuff. They don't have those in special format, but you do get these bunch of cool D6s here. So it has... instead of the 6, I think that's instead of the 6, yes. It has this cool symbol here, very evocative, again, of the setting with the crossed pistols there. And a nice color arrangement as well. We've got this kind of brass mixed with black with white pips. So all the pips are really visible. You get a nice variation in the color distribution across the different dice. So it was a lovely surprise to get these. I just paid, the same that the Kickstarter backers paid. for just the book, and he sent me some cool stuff, so I'm really happy with that. Oh, and also, there is a nice poster as well. In fact, two of them, but I'll just show you one of them because they're the same. And it's just a giant version of the cover art without the logo on, which is really cool. Really nice quality print as well. You can see all the detail. It's a lovely cover art, by the way. I think the book really looks great. So yeah, thanks to David. So I wanted to give his game a shout out and show it off here on the channel because even if you can't get a hold of the physical copy, oh God, it's massive. Go out on DriveThruRPG and snag yourself the PDF. It really looks fantastic, and I am excited to play it. So, welcome to the Weird Frontiers. Hope you survived the ride. Things have gotten plumb weird since the events of the 7 Days of Night brought an end to the war, revealing the presence of an evil thicker than the darkest molasses that'd make the devil himself blush. You can turn tail or take the fight to the night, and you ain't about to be called Yeller. So saddle your horses and clean those irons, because there's something slithering across the dark frontier, and it's dead set on making victuals out of you and your ragtag posse. So, Weird Frontiers is a standalone Weird West role-playing game influenced by the works of H.P. Lovecraft and folklore pulled from all over the world. Within the pages of the Bootlegger's Edition, you'll have enough rules, classes, and even an included adventure, Death Crawls West, to wet your whistle and prepare you for what's coming in 2020. It's from Stiff Whiskers Press, the name of David's company there. So I'm going to be very careful with this. You can see at the bottom here, there are 2 bookmarks, which is handy for a book of this size. And inside, we also have a poster map, which I have not detached yet. I'm just going to probably leave that here for now. Can I unfold it? Oh, I sure can. Here we go. So yeah, this is just giving you a map of the Weird West at that time in fake history. Sorry, it's upside down. I really don't want to detach it right now. So I don't know if I'll rip something when trying to show it off on the viewfinder, but you get a download, a nice high-res JPEG of this when you buy the book as well. Then we have some tables in the front here, frequently referenced tables, ability modifiers, experience per level, boons, sample difficulty classes, and how to use hex tokens. Then we have some more tables here. We've got firearms simplified and ranged weapons more generally. Do we have tables in the back as well? We sure do. What do we got here? The gun deck, rolling critical success, and drawing an ace or an 8. So you do use some card draws here as well. How to reload, cost of ammunition, fanning the hammer if you're a gunslinger. That's where you might have seen it in old Western movies where they kind of, they have a single action revolver and they pull the trigger and they time pulling back the hammer with the other hand and fanning it like that. So they get kind of rapid fire going. You can do that in this game as well. And we got a lucky sign birth augur chart. All right, I'm no way, shape, or form going to go through all of this book because it is gigantic. So we'll first look at the chapters here, the table of contents. So we've got a welcome, we've got the different classes themselves, so Bedlamite, Calavera, Gambler, Gunslinger, Hellbilly, Luchador, Mountebank, Mystic Monk, Occultist, Revelator, Sin Eater, and Tommyknocker. Then we've got the rules, which stretch from page 122 to 146. Then we've got a whole load of pages on magic. You can see from 152 to 446, so yeah, that's like 300 pages on magic. Then the judges' rules, so that's the game master section, how to run the game, dealing with the spirit world, sample cities and towns, random town generators, loads of great stuff. One thing I was really pleased about when reading through this is just how much kind of help there is for new GMs to kind of get into the background. Then we got a bunch of pages of magic items. We've got a pretty stout bestiary as well, which goes on for quite a bit, includes some Lovecraftian stuff. Then we have adventures. We have Death Crawls West and Lost Souls Canyon. And then loads of helpful stuff in the appendix, like clothing, accessories, general store stuff, sundries, smokes and chews. Yeah, so it's really, I mean, everything you would ever possibly need for a Weird West game is in this book. Then we have also in the appendices weapon traits, different types of weapons, firearms, combat modifiers. There's loads of firearm stuff in here. And then your critical hit charts, which are always fun. And we got, right, yeah, special thanks, blah, blah, blah. So let's go, we'll look a bit through the welcome chapter. So in civilized towns, you look a man direct in the face when you talk to him. All right. There's lots of lovely black and white art in this as well, which is really a characteristic of the DCC line. I love the font choice as well, and the little kind of skull and revolvers down on the bottom here. It's really cool. I mean, the whole layout is really clear. There's lots of text, and it is massive, but everything is super readable. Like here's the pages on character creation. You know, you got a lovely piece of art there, which gives you the right vibe. You know, the steps are all laid out really clearly. They get a page themselves. I mean, it really feels like a luxury production because everything gets the space that it needs, and in fact, probably more than strictly necessary. But I love it. I mean, and you get room for all these wonderful tables. You can roll up everything to do with your character on a table. You don't need to, you know, go through some detailed character build process if you don't want to. Then it talks about using funnels on these pages here, so just like in regular DCC. And then there's this concept of walking the line, so you can kind of... it's basically like a morality track, if you like, or a corruption track. And you can end up being righteous or damned. So then you get modifiers depending on, you know, where you are on this morality track, which is pretty cool. We'll look through the classes quickly. So there's some helpful stuff about which kind of classes to choose. The Bedlamite has great art here to set the mood. So she's kind of like, what you call it? Like inventor or what would you call it? Like an alchemist maybe in D&D. So you build crazy devices and stuff and contraptions, and those are your way of affecting the game and combat and so forth. So it describes their special abilities. So all Bedlamites have the inherent ability to create devices that bend the laws of nature. And there's all sorts of details on that. Each class has their own progression chart. And you can see here where the weird dice come in. So when you get to higher levels, and the game tops out at level 10, for your action die, which is what you use during a round of combat or whatever, you can take 2 actions. The first one will be with a D20, and then the second one you get a D16. So your second action is potentially a bit less effective. And there's a whole concept of the dice chain where instead of getting modifiers to your die rolls, if you get like a negative modifier on your attack roll, you might go down from a D20 to a D16. Or conversely, if you get a positive advantage going for you, you would roll a D24 all the way up to a D30. So those dice are a little bit more expensive. You have to get specialized sets, but there are a lot of different variations and colors and stuff for DCC dice. So plenty of opportunities to get cool looking dice. And I will get some physically when I really start playing this. But you can all, of course, do it all very easily online with a dice roller app. This is the Calavera. So the Calavera is, you can see there's a kind of Mexican influence here in the visuals. So the Calavera is somebody who can kind of deal with spirits, basically. So they can cross the barrier dividing the living from the dead. They have special class abilities such as Bone Dance, Speaking to the Dead, all kinds of cool stuff. They typically favor weapons gifted to them by the spirits they encounter. Then they have their own progression table as well. And then these are how the spells and spell-like abilities are displayed in the game. You get this cool kind of very identifiable page, which has the title, the cost in terms of whether it's magic or abilities, points of different types, the duration. Here it has a manifestation time for the ability, and then gives you the basic descriptions, what you can kind of summon in this case. So you can get zombies, and there's a manifestation of the spell. So you might get large wings appearing on you. You might vomit forth spirits. You can begin to glow and lift from the ground. All sorts of cool stuff can happen to you. And then there's a couple of different effects that you can choose from. And there's a really cool 2-page spread here of the Calavera doing their thing. Zombies arising from the earth. And there's the Calavera there with pistols in tow. Very cool. There's some more special abilities. This is Grim Conversation. We've got Spook Show. More cool artwork. I love this piece here with a bit of Eastern vibes. Next class is the Gambler. So these are players who have always been lucky and had a keen mind for probability and chance. But since the 7 days of night, luck is like a fountain that you can dip your cup into. The simple card tricks you learn to limber your fingers have been charged with power. So you're a card shark, and your card sharkery actually gives you some cool abilities. So there's a Dead Man's Hand chart for your special ability that you can use with your cards. And then I don't know if there's any spell-like abilities for this class. I can't remember. Maybe not. Yep, then we're on to the Gunslinger. The Gunslingers, you can see here, of course, their thing is shooting guns. They prefer firearms over all else, but they can use blades and saber weapons as backup when you run out of ammo. Their class abilities include Deadeye Die, so they get bonuses to shots fired from their ghost irons. These are kind of their special spirit weapons that they use instead of regular old guns. They have great eyesight and can spot targets at extreme range using Eagle Eye. And they can do the fan the hammer ability I was talking about before. They also can get the lead poisoning ability, so they aim for the most vulnerable areas on their target. They can do quick draw, all kinds of stuff. And then we've got some trick shots. So these are potential trick shots that you might attempt during play. I think you can kind of develop these on your own and propose to the GM, but these are some examples that you can use. And then this lame duck ability here is the gunslinger placing a bullet where the opponent is going to be down for the count. So there's lots of cool abilities to do with your guns. Now we got the Hellbilly. Another great picture here. He's got some kind of hellhound here with him. Definite evil redneck vibes. So he does an interesting type of magic called jug magic. He's got a drinking vessel that is a conduit to a magical hollow stump that stores fey-crafted hooch. There you go. So he gets drunk and does spells. You have a magic jug chart here. So tells you what you do when you take a sip from the jug. There's intoxication rules because you will get drunk over a period of time. Got a great tentacular Lovecraftian beastie there. Oh, and the luchador, some more from the Mexican side of things. So we've got the luchador, of course, a flashy wrestling warrior. They walk the West in search of fame, fortune, and to punish all things evil. So they spend all day honing your reflexes, punching your body to its physical limits. High-flying acrobatics, new wrestling techniques, and mastering the path of a noble spirit take up most of your day. So they get a lucha die, which represents their special luchador abilities. They get signature weapons, which do not include firearms. They wield their body as a signature weapon, inflicting improved damage with any kick, punch, or headbutt. Their class abilities reinforce that, so they have fame as a good-hearted warrior. They have they're battle-hardened, so they're good at using their body to fight. They feed off the emotions of the crowd using flair. They got signature moves. They have their mask has like spiritual power. I mean, look at all this stuff. Tons of cool ideas for your characters to use in combat. And here's some examples of signature moves. Again, loads of examples here. So the bow and arrow, the brain buster, each of those has their own table of results. Huracan Rana, I think isn't that real? I think that's from Rey Mysterio or one of those. Reversal, all kinds of cool special moves. The Shining Wizard, that's definitely a real move. And another great piece of art there. I like that, the luchador posing on this gravestone. Then we got the Montebank. There we see his art. He's drinking from a mystery potion. Seems dangerous, but there you go. So the Montebank is a hustler. So he hustled from town to town doing a variety of jobs, but found it easy to make $1 by selling trinkets and quote-unquote cures. Much of your stock does little to remedy actual ailments, which is why you make it a habit not to overstay your welcome. And then after the 7 days of night, you can actually make these snake oil cures have real properties. So you can make magical formulae, mundane formulae. There's a chart for how many formulae they know. So there's a lot of different types of kind of supernatural abilities in this game. You can make bombs, acid bombs, formulated adhesives, all kinds of cool stuff. Then you have some more Eastern flavor here with the Mystic Monk. Another nice piece of artwork there. So the universe is a beautiful, complex dance between light and dark, good and evil, and one cannot exist without the other. You're one of the few that understands the necessity for this balance and the challenge that comes from dedicating your life to protect it. They have a chi die, so most of the classes have a special die that represents their signature abilities. They're masters of martial arts and exotic weapons from the Orient. They have various mystic disciplines where they manifest chi. That includes things like the Dragon's Breath, the Dragon Hide, Flight of the Feather, Tower of the Mind, Living Weapon. Then there's their martial arts abilities, and they get martial arts maneuvers, which can be really useful. You can disarm your opponents, you can do flying kicks, you can jump up from prone and jump up in an instant. The Quivering Palm, so you can manipulate the flow of chi in others to devastating effect. Thunderclap, use your open hands to land simultaneous blows on the opponent's ears to deafen them. Yep, again, we've got some nice artwork here to get you in the mood. The Occultist. Now, you may recognize this face here. That is H.P. Lovecraft's face. So I like that reference. So yeah, the Occultist is somebody who dabbles in the occult, of course. You dabble in the arcane arts. You have an action die, signature weapons. You spend most of your time looking at dusty tomes rather than shooting stuff. For a backup weapon, you'll often get derringers and small pistols, or easily concealed blades. For their class abilities, they have the ability to sense the paranormal, Sixth Sense, and they have abilities in the arcane arts. So they start with a personal grimoire with 4 spells determined randomly, and they gain spells as they gain levels. They also can have a familiar, which is very useful. There's rules about investigating new spells and scribing spells in your book. There's tables to roll for your familiar. There's a classic black cat, of course, but you have many options, including cockroaches, wolves, foxes, armadillos, skunks, all kinds of stuff. So again, lots of unique stuff to distinguish this class. Here we have the Revelator. We got a nun with a gun. Very cool. So what does she do? She's had a fall from grace. Or she can have a fall from grace, rather. So, being baptized in the fires of divinity, the flames enveloped you, licked at your soul, left you burning with a different fire, one that helps you march faithfully into the darkest night. And she can do miracles, divine healing, for example. And she depends very heavily on staying on the path of the righteous. So a fall from grace means that you fall into the path of the damned, and that seems bad if you're a nun with a gun. You can call for divine intervention, you can perform exorcisms, and you can do miracles. And turn back the night, so this is like turning undead, as you would find in regular D&D. She can also do smite damage. And there's... Oh, that's a very cool picture. I like that one. Now we have the Sin Eater. Again, each class's illustration, I think, is brilliant. Really gets you an idea of what you're in for. So here, the Sin Eater is a walking, talking, breathing piece of a puzzle. And you are worthy, chosen by Charon himself, to shepherd souls across the treacherous waters of the river Styx. When the events of the 7 days of night hit the land of the living, multitudes of souls found their journey to the underworld cut short. Blah, blah, blah. So Charon has chosen you among a small cadre of the Brothers of the Blood Reeds to travel back to the lands you once walked, to shepherd lost souls and put down those that prey on them. So you're looking for lost souls and eating them. There you go. They can come from various periods in history, and they have some interesting class abilities. So they have Last Rites, which it's an ancient tome that contains every burial rite known to man. You have the Soul Aegis. So this is the weapon they wielded at the time of their first death. It becomes a symbol that identifies them among their brothers and sisters. It can never be permanently destroyed. The weapon can never be lost, and it becomes deadlier the closer it gets to the underworld. Very cool. You also can sense lost souls. You can sidestep into the spirit world. All kinds of cool stuff the Sin Eater can do. And then you have these river rites. So this seems to be to do with your origins, helping Charon at the River of Styx. You can do shadow walking. Ooh, that guy looks scary. As does that one on the other side, for that matter. Then we have the Tommyknocker. Look at this guy. Scary business. So, you were never known as lucky fella, so it was no surprise to family and friends that you found an untimely demise during the 7 days of night. What did surprise them was the day you rose from the pine box in your Sunday best and told the preacher you'd be taking a rain check on that eulogy until you took care of some unfinished business. So there you go. And it's interesting, if you do a funnel, the Tommyknocker class can only be used by 0-level characters that died during the adventure. So you're coming back from death. Class abilities include Beat with the Ugly Stick. So they look horrible, basically. And that gives you some benefits and some demerits to your enemies. Dark Inheritance. So, yeah, you're kind of marked by the dead, and they have no need to breathe, eat, sleep, or do any other bodily task. Immune to poison, all sorts of other stuff. They don't need to sleep. They can't heal naturally, so they have to use stitches and stitch themselves up. And these are a list of possible Dark Inheritance powers that you can use, which are tied to your undead ancestry. So, really unique classes in this game. Then we get into the rules. So I'm not going to really get into the details of this. Just a quick kind of breeze through. Basically, if you're familiar with DCC and kind of the D&D 3.5 era, you'll have a pretty good idea of what you're dealing with. But it does have a lot of unique spins on it. So you have the additions to the luck mechanic in DCC, which is called boons and hexes here. There's rules for fear and madness, which is more of a horror-based game, stuff like that. And then, of course, you have really extensive lists of rules for different kinds of firearms, different types of missile damage. I mean, there's really tons of great gameplay options. I think the combat and gunfights are going to be really fun in this. Then there's loads of stuff about magic. I mean, just tons and tons of tables to roll on for cool spell effects. Arcane list of spells. Then we have the spells themselves. So let's see if we can look at something that's not too enormously long. So again, it looks like the table we saw before, basically. So this is a level 1 spell called Wound Stitcher. Range is self or target. Duration can vary. Takes 1 round to charge. And this is actually a fist-sized mechanical contraption. So this must be for the Inventor class that we saw, the Bedlamite. So you get a description of the spell or a spell-like effect, a manifestation, so what it looks like when you do it, and then you have a roll, which in this case you have a 1 to 21 here, which carries on up to as much as 33 plus, and that determines the level of effect of your spell. So you're going to roll, you roll for your spells, like with a d20 plus your spellcasting ability, and so the better the roll you get, the better the outcome is for you. Then we have level 2 contraptions. These are all contraptions, I guess. I mean, there's so many spells in here. These are still contraptions. Mechanical steeds, soul furnace, iron golem, necro potion. Here we go. Now we have the mixtures for the Montebank. All kinds of, the multiple different magic systems are all really interesting. And again, I haven't played this yet, but I'm sure they're going to be quite enticing to different kinds of players, and it's going to be interesting to see how they interact in combat. And all of them carry an element of risk, which is sort of inherent to the roll for spells kind of system. But I really like that. It's better, it's more interesting to me. And there's actually a kind of mechanical reason to really work on your spell casting ability and stuff, which is cool. So we're getting into spells. Lots of tumbleweed, folklore, boulder dash, dream. I mean, a very extensive spell list. And now we're in the judges rules section. So this is for game mastery. Again, this is what I was particularly impressed by. I mean, there's all this useful background stuff. It really is tied to the real American West, but with a load of added flavor. It's really, and they don't shy away from the fact that, it wasn't a great place to be if you were, not kind of privileged and stuff. But they don't dwell on it. It's not that kind of game. But they've turned the setting into something that's kind of more open, wide, and inclusive. You can make any kind of characters you want, really. We've got a sample city here of Ash Bluff, with detailed descriptions of every building. I mean, really, with this book alone, it'd be very straightforward for a GM to just jump right into a campaign with the stuff they give you. We've got different dark patrons. So these are the twisted menagerie of tentacled horrors known as Elder Gods. And you can invoke these patrons in various ways. And of course, they have problematic effects for the people involved. And you'll recognize some of these names from Lovecraftian stuff like Call of Cthulhu and so on. But there's also influences from like Mesoamerican mythology, native stuff. It's very cool. There's a carousing table. What happens when you visit a den of iniquity and try to socialize. Some stuff about running luck and XP rewards. Then we get magic items, which again, you've got some cool tables to roll on, magical firearm powers you can have, different types of magical items you can find with lots of background and cool options. And then we get into the bestiary. So we've got some weird and wild stuff for you to shoot at in the Wild West. So we've got the Byaki, that's very recognizable from Lovecraft. We've got carnivorous plants, Johnny Walker, it's interesting, like a deadly cactus of some kind. Children of Yig, so it's the serpent god from Lovecraft. Color Out of Space, Cyclops, the Dole, the giant burrowing worms. Yeah, I don't want to spoil everything here, but there's loads of cool stuff in here from different kinds of mythology. We've got ghouls, golems, Yithians. I mean, you can see there's tons and tons of beasts in here to get started with. And because it's compatible with DCC, I mean, you can use... DCC is actually doing a Kickstarter for a massive, like, 500-page monster book, which you can get with 5e stats or DCC stats. So you can get that with DCC stats, and all of that should run just fine in here, which would be great. And there are already a number of additional offerings for Weird Frontiers on DriveThruRPG, so do look for that stuff. Additional adventures, you know, all kinds of useful stuff for new players. So I really hope this system has a long life. I think it's brilliantly done. You know, it looks great. The book is fantastic. I mean, just the feel of it is impressive. The paper is really high quality, really thick. It's matte, so you can see it's not glowing in the light here. It's got all the cool stuff you like from DCC, critical hits, all of that kind of thing. You know, lots of fun tables to roll on. But it's just got so much in here to transport you into the Weird West setting. And I'm so thrilled with it. It cost me a lot of money in the end to get this, but I'm really, really glad I did. And again, shout outs to David for being super duper helpful, for a Weird fan out in Scotland here, getting me all this stuff, not just the book itself, but, you know, thematically appropriate dice and extra swag. I really love this stuff. So, yeah, that's Weird Frontiers based on the DCC RPG. Highly recommended. As far as I can tell, you do not need DCC as a baseline. You can just play right from this book. So go and check it out. I think there's still some copies available that look exactly like this on the Goodman Games website for about $75. So if you're in the US, you can do that. If you're elsewhere, be prepared for outrageous shipping rates. But if you really want a hard copy, I mean, it is beautifully done, so hopefully you could see. I'm thrilled to have it in the collection. And yeah, more to come on this one. I really am looking forward to playing it. And with the package, I also got access to the main PDF for the book and a couple of additional adventures as well. So I do have some stuff to run. And I will be playing some new campaigns soon with my group. So I'll report back if we do any more interesting stuff with Weird Frontiers in the next few months. But in the meantime, I hope that was useful for you if you're out there looking for something new to try. And it's not too far conceptually from D&D, so you don't need to worry too much about adjusting to lots of new stuff. I mean, it feels very different. There's going to be lots of firearms things and whatever. But the basic D20 plus modifier greater than DC is in operation here. It's just done in its own flavorful and different way. And there's many more types of weird magic and weird science going on. So anyway, I'm babbling because I'm very excited about this. But I hope some of you out there may be inspired to give this game a look, either in physical form or on DriveThruRPG. If you do, let me know in the comments. Or if you have any more questions about it, let me know in the comments as well. And I'll try to come back to you with an answer. But yeah, I'll put a link to the DriveThruRPG in the game's website in the description. So again, if you're looking for an alternative D&D, do check it out. In the meantime, hope you are well, and hope this video was useful, at least for some of you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. All right, take care, and bye-bye.